So let's talk about how through good script writing alone, Avatar: The Last Airbender did better than any modern attempt at pushing feminism through media. So one of the first things that's commonly done wrong when these attempts are made to push feminism through media is that they hyper exaggerate the strengths of women. Not to say that women can't be strong at all. It's that they make the women excessively strong and also not weak at all, which is just not good writing at all for even a male character. So if we were to see a male character with no inherent flaws who's going to win at everything that he does, there's no point in watching a movie, right? Same thing with females. So a lot of the time, I think this also ties into what the next thing is, which is pandering. So they pander to a female audience who wants to see a woman character succeed, and so what do? They make the character unstoppable, which is it's not fun to watch. So for example, if you're watching a superhero movie and you know the superhero is not going to face any challenges because they have no flaws, then what's the point of watching the movie? You know, because you know they're going to win every single fight. You know that they're going to be successful in the end. What's the point of watching any sort of build up? There's not going to be any conflict because the character is going to be so strong that they're just going to snap their fingers and everything's going to go away. So another thing that just comes down to bad script writing or bad writing in games or whatever it is that they're pushing this through the media. Another thing that they try to do is they make these comparisons, not directly, but within the media, they will put these men who are incredibly weak, just absolute weenies, like completely poorly written, just terrible, like little piss babies, and then they'll have like these super strong women for comparison. So it's just supposed to, like, it makes this complete this dynamic or like dipole, I guess, of what, like, women super strong, men super weak, men little babies, women super strong, you know. And it's you know, what kind of man wants to watch that? I understand that there are a lot of movies out there from the past because, you know, in the 1940s, 1950s, it was, you know, male dominated, men speak, women don't speak kind of thing, where the man's the hero and the woman has to be saved, you know. But I think that modern day's done a better job at writing female characters and making them believable heroes. But there are a lot of current attempts that just they worry more about making women look strong in comparison to men than they do about making women look strong, period. So making a believably strong female character is something that's crucial in good writing in general. And I think in general, any of the writing that's been done to just force a woman into a role that was traditionally filled by a man, if it's not by force, like I said, if it's actually good writing, then of course it's okay. But the idea of writing something as to prove that if a man can do it, a woman can do it too, just kind of seems, once again, like it's overly excessively pushing a narrative, because we're not in the 1940s or 1950s anymore, and unless you're openly misogynistic, I don't think anybody really believes that there's something that a man can do that a woman can't do, unless it's down to genetics, something being physically possible, you know. A female is the only one who can get pregnant, things like that. So I mean, there's some things that a man physically can do that a woman can't do, but none of the things that you typically see in a movie are those things. So unless you're like I said, unless you're openly misogynistic in 2020, then I think that there's a strong audience that's going to agree that a lot of women can do a lot of the things that men can do. It's just in what capacity and how are we displaying the strength. And that's what's really important in making a good story and good writing and making it convincing and making a likable character that an audience is going to enjoy, rather than pushing a narrative through a character and trying to make that narrative enjoyable rather than the character. So Avatar: The Last Airbender is set in sort of an older time, so it's following those traditional roles that have been set for men and women's roles, and it still makes more believable powerful women characters than modern media does, when women, I would say, are allotted a lot more freedom in 2020 than they would be in the timeline of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you can see that in certain episodes, which I'll go over. But also, it promoted a female strength through the comparison to male counterparts without making it such a dipole that it's impossible to believe. So you have a lot of the dynamics between Zuko and Azula, and between Sokka and Katara, and I mean even Azula and Aang. You see sort of, you know, men stepping up to the plate with women and being equal in combat and fighting each other, and that's really cool without making it about just being about a woman being stronger or something like that. And then they made strengths and weaknesses unique to each character that were not unrealistic. So we see characters like Aang who struggle with, loving people too much. So Aang doesn't want to kill Fire Lord Ozai as everybody thinks that he should, and Aang struggles with his firebending because he's afraid of hurting Katara. And then we see weaknesses in Sokka and him having too much pride and thinking that he's the greatest all the time. We see weakness in Katara in that she sometimes tries to control the group too much, or she tries to be too safe. And then we can see weaknesses in Zuko in that he's got too much pride and he's too concerned about his honor and about restoring his the glory that he had within the Fire Nation rather than building himself as a character. And we see weaknesses like this in all the characters that make them develop throughout the story, and it's good story writing because we can see a character arc for each character uniquely, and how they come to serve their purpose and fulfill their goals by the end of the series. And then it just through good writing alone, there's such a healthy mix of male and female powerful characters that if you were to ask someone who loves this series, who their favorite character is, then you could get a wide range of answers. And you could also ask, who you think the most powerful characters are in the show, and you would get a healthy mix of female and male answers. So one of the first examples that I came across when I was watching this that made me really want to make a video like this was talking about the Kyoshi warriors. So just the fact that it not only promoted women being strong, but it promoted the idea of them being strong enough to defend their own village, to fend for their own. And it also allowed Sokka to kind of be arrogant without being a bumbling idiot, you know what I mean? So he shows up to the village and he thinks, oh, I'm the tough guy, I can beat up all the girls, they're warriors, but I'm a warrior too. And he's not really a trained warrior, as you can see at the beginning. He kind of has this ego, and then he goes in with the Kyoshi warriors and they kind of, knock him on his butt, and he has to humble himself in front of them and say, you're stronger than me, can you train me? And that's the dynamic that you want to see in good writing. You want to see the characters have these little redemptions towards a goal. And in the end, the goal for Sokka was to be a powerful warrior that could protect the people that he loved, because that was something that he really valued. And so this was a small first step for him, was being humbled and seeing that he's not the most powerful warrior, and even a girl, in this context could knock him on his butt because girls can be stronger than him. So he has to take everybody seriously, and he has to respect that. So what does he do? He humbles himself in front of them and he says, I would like for you to teach me. And he gets taught and he learns and he becomes a better character because of it. They also made the Kyoshi warriors just likable characters in general, which is good in script writing, to make a character likable when they're gonna knock one of the main characters of the entire storyline on their butt. You want them to be a character that you're not like, hey, that was really stupid for them to do. You want it to be like, oh, that was kind of funny. How are they gonna add to the story? So we even see Suki showing up in the end, was so likable that they had to continue. I'm pretty sure she was supposed to be a one-time character who got written into later episodes because she was likable by the public and she was requested. So they put her back into the series because that's what they want. That's what the people wanted, and that's what was served to them. So the next example would be Katara at the Northern Water Temple. So keeping in line with their traditions, their cultural norms, the men were the ones who waterbend to fight, and the women's were the waterbenders to heal. And so Master Paku says no, says Katara is not allowed to waterbend, even though she's come all this way. She has to learn how to waterbend to heal, because that's what the women do. And so Katara wants to prove she's strong enough to do it, so she stands up for herself, which is great in promoting that, it's not just because they're a woman that they're going to be strong. It's that they have a good character behind the woman who it is, because the whole story could have been about Aang going on this journey alone, or Aang could have ran into twin brothers, or Aang could have ran into twin sisters. It didn't matter if it was Sokka and Katara, or if it was two girls or two guys, or one guy or one girl. It really couldn't have made a difference. But the fact of the matter is, it was two solidly developed characters that you enjoyed seeing. And so we see this female character that we love to see standing up for herself and making a name for herself, and showing that she has the power to be a waterbender on par with a male. And she ends up doing that in the end, because she becomes strong enough where Master Paku says that she could train Aang. So she honestly becomes one of the most powerful benders, and then she also in the end learns bloodbending from a woman as well. So one of the strongest waterbenders to ever exist in the history of ever, even going into the Legend of Korra. So Katara, a likable character, being able to find strength and prove her strength rather than just be given her strength because she's a woman, says a lot more about her as a character than you would see in modern media, where they just give the woman the power because they want the woman to have the power, because they want her to look strong for presenting a message. And I think that the message in fighting for the ability to possess this power of waterbending was a lot better than it just being given to her. It made more developments with her as a character than anything else really would have. If she was just given that ability herself, she had to really prove it, and I think it helped develop her as a character a lot better. Another good portion of writing is Toph being the strongest earthbender, and the story of Toph is just about overcoming adversity in general. I believe Toph was actually supposed to be written as a male, but they ended up writing her as a female, and so her story becomes even more of a story of overcoming adversity and learning how to combat the world in general as a blind person. And so she's a fun character that's just made to be underestimated. So when these big men see a little girl, they just underestimate her completely, and then they know she's blind. But being able to see with her feet, she takes people down with ease, and nobody would expect this out of a small blind girl, of course, but we as the audience know that there's a lot more strength behind Toph, and what through all of her struggles and adversity that she's overcome it and become a better character throughout the series because of it. And like I said, Toph could have been written as a male or a female character. It doesn't matter. It's that it was a female character who was strong. It wasn't that they were a female to be strong. It was that Toph is a female character who is strong. While Avatar Kyoshi is only a really small part of the series, we see her give advice to Aang before the fight with Fire Lord Ozai, and we also see some small clips of her while they are in Kyoshi City. And so while it isn't dwelled upon a lot, I think that it's important that they brought Avatar Kyoshi in to show that an avatar can be a girl. So when you're watching this series as a kid, it can't just be the boy that's allowed to be the avatar. So it's just a small touch that allowed for a little bit more inclusion of both people. So, when I don't even remember how old when this came out, 2005. So I was about seven when I first started watching this, 6, and finished it about age 8 or however long this is. The final episode was on July 19th. But regardless, when you're a young kid like that and you're watching the series, you want to be able to be like the hero of the series. You want to be a powerful character in the series. You want to have something that you can relate to. And while Aang is the main avatar of the series, we have flashbacks of Avatar Roku and of Avatar Kyoshi, and so we see that the avatar can be a male or a female. So this allows for a kid, who's 6, 7, 8 years old to have the imagination. They can be the avatar. They can be a powerful waterbender. They can be a powerful firebender. And we see this constantly written in. There's a powerful male and female bender of every single type of bending. We have Katara in water bending, and we have the Master Paku as a male water bender. And then in earth bending, we have Toph, and we have Haru, and all of the male earthbenders that you see. There's a lot of male earthbenders in the series. And then we have Aang as a powerful airbender, and unfortunately all the other airbenders have been wiped out. But there's the other Avatar as well. Avatar Kyoshi, who I'm talking about right now, who of course masters airbending. And then firebenders, there's Azula, Ty Lee, Mai, who I will be talking about next. But and then there's Zuko, Iroh. There's just a lot of characters that you could relate to as the audience if you wanted to put yourself in any sort of bending, anywhere, any category. You could be a strong bender related to how you're watching it as an audience. Who you are, you could relate to somebody within the series, within whatever archetype you want to. And Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee, we can see that they're just absolutely dominant women in power. They take on large armies by themselves, and it's not exaggerated how strong they are. We've seen firebenders do some crazy things, so seeing Ty Lee take someone's bending away, or Mai take out a large army of men, or Azula firing lightning from her fingertips, it's not shocking because we see in flashbacks Azula was a lot stronger than Zuko was at the beginning. She was a very natural learner, and with Mai and Ty Lee being directly under her, it seems like they would only be equally as strong. And so they would continually show up and assist with defeating armies single-handedly, and nobody had to question whether they were that strong or not. You were just shown that they were that strong, and you believed it because it looked cool, you know? And even as a 22-year-old guy right now, I think it's probably just as cool right now to me as it was when I was 6 or 7 years old. And so they were enemies, but they were also likable characters. The actions that they took were justified, and that's present among all of the evil characters. Iroh was serving the Fire Lord when he was trying to take down Ba Sing Se, and then we see he has a transformation when his son passes away. He kind of realizes that what he's doing is wrong, so he shouldn't be doing that. We see Zuko's hunting the Avatar because he wants his honor back from his father, and we see that he's gone through a lot, and that's what's built him into this villain, this likable villain, because he's pursuing something that's going to bring him joy, even though it's at the expense of someone else. And we see Azula is just trying to become the Fire Lord, so she's doing whatever it takes to become the Fire Lord. And even though we don't necessarily like that she's trying to kill our favorite characters, we like her as a character because she's ruthless and she's bloodthirsty, and it's just she's a well-written villain. And we like Mai and Ty Lee because of their associations with Azula, and also because they're just fun characters. I mean, Mai's fun in that she's dry. She's just this spoiled single child who's never gotten anything really, so she's just become cold, and we see her develop even in the Fire Island episodes. And then Ty Lee's developed from being this sort of circus person who's trying to differentiate herself from her identical siblings into becoming this strong fighter who can shut down people's bending. And she eventually joins the Kyoshi Warriors and puts her fighting towards a good cause. So a likable character, and I don't even think she wanted to hurt people because she didn't want to hurt Sokka, like she found him attractive or something. So she was slowing down her fighting in that one episode to try and not hurt him. So overall, just likable, strong women characters that were written. And once again, they could have been male characters. It could have been 3 guys. It would have been just as easy to write Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee as 3 dudes who were doing the same thing. But the point is they wrote them as women, and it was just good characters. And then kind of just to lump 3 together, there's Yue, Katara's mom, and Zuko's mom. Very short-lived characters within the series in their own aspects, but very powerful in what they did. And their effect on the storyline. So Yue, just, well, for all of them, I guess, their strength and sacrifice. They made small contributions to the storyline, that were huge within the universe of the storyline. So if Yue hadn't sacrificed herself to the Moon Spirit to give the life back that she had been given at the beginning of the series, then the world would have probably been taken over by the Fire Nation, because the Waterbenders would have lost their ability to bend. There would be no strength for them. They wouldn't be able to fight back. The series would have ended there. The Fire Nation would have won the fight, and that would have been that. And then Katara's mom making the sacrifice and saying that she was the last waterbender of the Southern Water Tribe so that Katara could live freely was a sacrifice to, protect a child. That's a motherly thing, and it's admirable and respectable. And Zuko's mom did pretty much the same thing. Zuko's mom wanted to protect Zuko from being killed by his father, rather. So she was banished, or I'm not sure how it actually ends up. It doesn't tell you in the series, but Zuko wants to find his mom in the end, so I'm assuming that she was still alive. I never read into the things after, and as far as I know, in The Legend of Korra, I haven't seen it yet. I've only watched the first season of that. So it also showed Zuko that he needed to do things to honor himself and to build up himself and to do what was truly right. So through his mother's sacrifice, he was able to learn more about himself, and through Katara's mom's sacrifice in the episode when she goes to seek retribution against the man who took her, she finds out more about herself, that she needs to not do things out of revenge. She needs to do it to develop herself and to become a better person for herself. She could never, even in the moment when she is about to take this man's life and this man's whole career, she finds mercy and she steps away and she doesn't take him and she leaves. So she makes him realize the pain that she went through and doesn't take his life, which I feel like is ultimately a worse fate, because you have to face down the girl whose mom you took away. Katara is like 14, so like 6 years prior, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life. So ultimately, Katara probably made a better choice in not taking his life. Yeah, that's it.